This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Paul with Louis R. Avalone.
I mean, we've got a show for you tonight,
we
folks.
do.
Oh, my
it's jam-packed full of stuff. We've been working on this all day long.
No, I don't know how we're going to get to everything, so I better just get right to it.
Oh, okay.
Well, there was an explosive scene in the White House press briefing room.
Really?
On Thursday, this past week.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a clip.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I don't think that was in
Are
the
you sure?
That wasn't in the White House.
Okay, maybe that wasn't.
Okay.
But see, we do deserve the truth.
Yes.
That much is true. We do deserve the truth. And I think many Americans can handle the truth. I mean, that's all that really the American people expect is for their government to be honest with them.
That's what they want. I don't think most people, and we'll talk about this later on the show, I don't think most people now expect that their government will be honest with them. The government should be honest with them because the government's just power comes from the consent of the governed. How can the governed give the government consent if the government's lying to them about what it's doing?
Well, what Jen Psaki had to say in that press briefing, I think she was being truthful with the American people, but I think she let it slip. And I don't know how many Americans will be able to deal with this. So here's the clip. Here's the actual clip.
This is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken, or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to connect to connected medical experts who are popular with their audiences with accurate information and boost trusted content. So we're helping get trusted content out there.
Trusted content.
Okay, so here's what happened. She just admitted that the government is using Facebook to censor speech.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
And if that does not alarm you...
Well, here's what's even more alarming to me. She doesn't think that that's wrong. She actually thinks, and so does the rest of the government, they think they're doing a good thing by censoring your right to speak.
So what's that word when corporations and the government work so closely together?
Evil?
That they're nearly indistinguishable.
Collusion?
No, the corporation becomes a government actor.
Oh, yeah.
Because the government is telling Facebook, the government, your federal government,
right,
is telling Facebook who to censor. And you know whose case this is making?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, because his lawsuit that earlier this week.
They could not have put this press conference out at a worse time for them legally, for Facebook legally.
So maybe this was deliberate on the part of the White House. We'll get to that here in just a moment.
You think they wanted to sink Facebook?
But for those that don't know, President Trump is filing suit or has filed suit against Facebook, alleging
and Twitter.
Alleging that they rise above that of a private company to that of a state actor.
That they've been colluding with the federal government to silence speech, and that because they've been working so closely with the federal government, that they are no longer immune to First Amendment restrictions. The federal government cannot restrict speech, and yet Facebook's doing it for the federal government. Jen Psaki just mentioned that.
And she's making their case. And so my question is, did Psaki slip? Or did Psaki just team up with Facebook and Twitter and is deflecting now the responsibility or the liability of those social media platforms to censor speech on those platforms?
See, I think this is a great example of noble cause corruption. I don't think she slipped. I think she intentionally said what she was planning on saying.
No, I don't think so. I think she slipped.
The problem is with noble cause corruption, that's where you do the wrong thing because you think you're doing the right thing. You're so convinced in your righteousness, you're so convinced that you're correct, that every single thought that pops into your head is absolutely right. You're so convinced of that you're willing to do things that otherwise you know would be wrong. That's where the Democrats are. That's where our federal government is. That's certainly where Jen Psaki is today. And that's where the Surgeon General is.
No.
Noble cause corruption.
Well, it is just so deeply disturbing that we have a White House that is flagging internet content that they deem
they're spying on Americans. They're spying on American social media. They're going to go through your social media posts. The federal government's got computers right now that are going to go through your social media posts. And if you say something like, gosh, I wish I had some hydroxychloroquine so I wouldn't have had a bad time with the COVID-19 vaccine or the COVID-19 virus. They're going to come after you, and the Surgeon General is going to shut you down.
It's not just your social media post, it's your text messages as well.
That's scary, too.
The White House announced that the Biden administration basically plans to address SMS carriers, text messaging carriers.
Right.
And basically shut those down too.
And that's a huge violation of the law. And actually, it goes against not only the First Amendment, but it goes against all of the NSA's spying laws. They're not allowed to do that with domestic texts. They're not allowed.
So they're getting with they're getting with AT&T and Verizon. They're going to be censoring your text.
Right.
They're getting with Facebook and Twitter.
And they don't think any of this is wrong. They think they're doing the right thing by destroying the foundations of the idea of America.
She also said that they're working with doctors and medical professionals to basically connect medical experts with people. And remember,
but only ones who are popular.
But remember, Fauci worked with Facebook to ban that lab leak theory,
right?
That it came out of Wuhan.
Yeah.
Which is factual, by the way.
Right.
But Fauci worked with Facebook to ban that story, that theory, for more than a year.
Well, and the Surgeon General initially said, ooh, don't wear masks. And Fauci said, don't wear masks. And then they went, oh, wait, do wear a mask. Oh, wait, wear 2 masks. Wear 3 masks. Okay, once you get the vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Wait a minute. Once you get a vaccine, you still have to wear a mask. You probably need to wear 2 or 3 just to be safe.
And if they're working with Facebook and they're working with Twitter, what do you think that they're doing with the mainstream media? Do you think that they're not actively colluding with the mainstream media?
They've already been doing that.
Ban any stories.
They've already done that.
That might, in fact, question the effectiveness of the vaccine, for example.
Louis, the reason they have the bandwidth right now, the reason they have the time to go after Facebook and start colluding more with Facebook and with Twitter and all those, the reason why they have time for that is because they've already made the American media, the mainstream big corporate media, is already the lapdog for the Democrat Party. Big media, corporate media is already basically the PR branch of the Democrat Party. They don't have to put any effort into colluding with them. They're already colluded.
But see, here's what, look, and see, rather than to try to persuade people, I mean, the left has put facts and figures out there that obviously, well, they put their facts and their figures out there.
They put figures out there.
But instead of trying to persuade them, what are they doing? They're censoring.
Right.
They're silencing those that don't agree.
Because their ideas don't stand up to scrutiny. That's the whole thing. The whole point of you should only believe things that can stand up to scrutiny. Don't just believe every thought that comes in your head. Challenge them. But see, the Democrats can't do that. They believe every thought that comes into their head because they don't want their ideas challenged.
But it's Orwellian irony that so many modern liberals want to silence dissent when it goes against their preconceived opinion. How can you be liberal and yet not fully support the freedom of speech?
They're not liberal. They're leftist. They're socialist. They're communist. They're authoritarian. They are in no way, shape, or form liberal.
You know, Jesus said the truth will set you free. Well, you know, if so, who gets to decide in this country who goes free? The Joe Bidens of the world or you and me, the American people?
Let's get to the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. Speaking of truth, the Department of Justice deliberately postponed the investigation into Hunter Biden's laptops last summer so they wouldn't hurt Joe Biden's presidential campaign. The report out by Politico says Delaware's U.S. Attorney David Weiss prevented attorneys under him from pursuing a grand jury or other subpoenas so that they wouldn't accidentally alert the public that the DOJ was investigating the son of the Democrat candidate for president. After the election, 17% of Biden's voters said they would not have voted for him if they had known about the existence of Hunter Biden's laptop.
You know, as much as liberals hate history,
leftists, not liberals, leftists,
they have learned from history because you remember, Hillary Clinton probably would be president if FBI Director James Comey had not sent that letter to Congress talking about the existence of emails that may have been pertinent to the investigation.
Right.
And so they didn't want to make the same mistake with Joe Biden.
No, they didn't want to do their job. And by not doing their job, they helped Joe Biden. Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, nearly 189,000 people tried to illegally cross our southern border last month alone. That's the highest number in more than 10 years. In a statement, the Customs and Border Patrol said, quote, smuggling organizations are abandoning migrants in remote and dangerous areas, leading to a dramatic rise in the number of rescues CBP performs. Biden administration insists there's not a crisis at the southern border.
Well, I think most of these folks may be coming across the border to get a smartphone. Because the federal government, no, seriously, they're doing away with ankle monitors now, and they're giving smartphones to folks so they can, quote unquote, track them.
Yeah, while you're waiting for your asylum hearing, you play Candy Crush. Third thing you need to know before tomorrow, a federal judge in Texas has ruled the DACA program is not legal. Judge Andrew Hanen issued an injunction against the Biden administration ordering the Department of Homeland Security to immediately stop approving new applications to the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. DACA, which was started by an executive order from President Obama, allowed children who came to this country illegally to stay and work while in the U.S. That's now on hold.
Wait, you're saying a court recognizes that there are laws against violating our immigration system?
It's just one court.